No one has been making foldable phones as long as Samsung. And in the beginning, the sheer number of improvements we got on the Galaxy Z Fold line meant that it basically didn't have any competition. But more recently, the pace of innovation has slowed, while challenges like the OnePlus Open and the Pixel Fold have arrived. So while the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is still the best all-around big foldable phone on the market, it feels like complacency is starting to erode the kingdom of Samsung's flagship flexible phone. After eliminating the gap between the screen on last year's phone, Samsung adjusted the Galaxy Z Fold 6 dimensions again for 2024. But the changes are so small, you have to measure them in, millimeters. Literally. When closed, the phone is just over 1 millimeter thinner, and when you open it up in portrait mode, the main screen is 2.7 millimeters wider, but 1 millimeter shorter. It's not a ton, but you do get a little more room for activities. And of course, this also affects the exterior cover screen, which is about 1 millimeter wider as well, which is just enough to make using its on-screen keyboard a little more forgiving. Elsewhere, the entire phone is sharper, from its boxier edges to more squared-off corners on both of its screens. Samsung also says the enhanced armor aluminum used in the Z Fold 6's chassis is about 10% stronger than before. But I hope you'll forgive me for not dropping it on purpose just to find out. Then holding everything together is a new dual rail hinge. And this time, I think Samsung has nailed the perfect balance between something that's easy to open, but also holds its position when you want it to. Perhaps the biggest design upgrade is a 14-gram weight reduction compared to the previous model. Granted, that might not sound like much, but the Z Fold 6 now only weighs about 4 grams more than an S24 Ultra, and on an already heavy phone, this change makes a big difference. As for the displays, as someone who's been using the Pixel Fold a lot recently, which has solid screens in its own right, can I say, Samsung's panels are so choice. Not only has peak brightness increased to 2600 nits, just like you get on the standard S24 family, for both screens I should add, Samsung has subtly shrunk and flattened the bezels, so the phone looks even more like a magazine come to life. And until I see something better, this is simply the best screen on a big foldable right now. Now for performance. The Z Fold line has never been slow, and this year we got the same upgrade to a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip like we got on the S24, while base RAM is staying pat at 12 gigabytes. And as you'd expect, the Z Fold 6 performance is fast and responsive. There's no lag when doing pretty much anything, and thanks to the addition of a larger vapor chamber on the inside, the phone stays cooler during longer sessions, which is a really nice bonus to all the gamers out there who like playing stuff on a truly big screen device. When it comes to photography, I'm a bit disappointed with the Z Fold 6, not because it can't take a decent pic, but because I know Samsung can do better. For this go around, Samsung installed a new 12 megapixel sensor for the ultra-wide camera, and it's pretty good. But at the same time, the ultra-wide lens is the one I use the least in daily use, and it's not really even close. The other two cameras, the 50 megapixel main and the 12 megapixel telephoto with a 3x optical zoom, are the exact same ones we got on the previous 2 generations. And they're solid, but once again, we've seen them before. In a photo of some strawberries, the Z Fold 6 produced a delicious pic with deep saturated hues and great details. Though at the same time, you'll also see the slightly exaggerated warm tones that you often get from Samsung cameras. And at night, the Z Fold produced a beautiful pic of a flower even in a very tricky backlit environment. The issue is that after Google released the Pixel Fold, Samsung just doesn't really have an excuse for saddling the Z Fold 6 with downgraded photography when compared to the S24 Ultra. The Pixel Fold has a longer 5x optical zoom and an edge in overall photo quality. Just look at 2 zoom shots I took with the Z Fold 6 and the Pixel Fold. In a vacuum, the Samsung shot doesn't look bad, but then go take a look at the Pixel's image, and it's noticeably sharper and more detailed. And it's the same thing in really low light situations too, like the one I took of some Bluey figurines, where the Pixel Fold captured a less grainy, sharper, and more well-exposed pic. And after being pleasantly surprised by the cameras on the S24 Ultra, it's just really a shame that Samsung's most expensive phone comes in second place when it comes to photography. Now for other features, as we saw back at the beginning of the year, Samsung has brought the Galaxy AI suite it launched on the S24 to the Z Fold 6. And by and large, a lot of the features are the same, including things like Chat Assist, which you can use to generate social posts or emails while selecting a variety of tones and stuff like that. There's also support for Google Circular Search. Of course, you're running Android, so you're going to get that, along with translation and summarization tools. A couple new tweaks for the Fold is that now the phone can translate text in place instead of spitting it out into a big unformatted blob, which is nice, but admittedly kind of situational. Perhaps the more important one is the ability to do dual screen translations, so each person can see text in their language in real time, depending on what side of the phone they're looking at. Some other new additions are the Portrait Studio tool that can create an AI-generated drawing of someone based on a photo that you take, and then change it depending on a range of styles like comic or watercolor. It's fun and it's pretty good for a laugh or two. I'm just not sure how useful it's going to be on an everyday basis. There's also the sketch to image feature that allows you to add a simple drawing to an existing photo and then have the phone generate a more realistic rendition of it in your final image. I still think Samsung's basic AI photo editing tools are the most useful of the bunch, as they make it easy to delete distracting objects or do simple touch-ups. But once again, all of this feels like bonus content instead of core essentials. Now, for battery life and charging, while Samsung didn't increase the size of the 4400 mAh cell in the Z Fold 6, the phone does have slightly better battery life due to improved energy efficiency from that new chip. On our video rundown test, it lasted 20 hours and 7 minutes when using its large main screen and 25 hours and 19 minutes when using its exterior cover display. That first number is even better than what we saw from the Pixel Fold and the OnePlus Open. So if you need a big screen phone with ample longevity, the Z Fold 6 is the easy pick. Unfortunately, charging hasn't changed much at all. You still get 25-watt wired charging and 15-watt wireless charging, which are both pretty mediocre figures in 2024. And while I wasn't expecting to see support for Qi 2 magnetic charging on the Z Fold 6, especially after Samsung opted not to include it to the main S24 line, I'm just still a bit miffed that a phone this expensive is cutting important features off the spec sheet. Okay, let's wrap it up. Look, it wasn't long ago when practically every component on the Z Fold line was unmatched by its competitors. But now phones like the Pixel Fold exist, which offers better overall photo quality. Then there's the OnePlus Open, which weighs the same as the Z Fold 6 even after its recent diet. And let's not forget, both of those rivals are 2023 models. Plus, there are also Chinese competitors like the newly announced Honor Magic V3 and the upcoming Xiaomi Mix Fold 4, which are both thinner and lighter than Samsung's champion. Don't get me wrong, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is a good foldable, a great one even. It's got excellent performance, strong battery life, and handy features like native stylus support. But it feels like after all this time of sitting fat and happy on its throne, Samsung has a diminished hunger for total domination. Instead of long-awaited features like a built-in S Pen or an improved under-display camera, we got a bunch of AI-powered tools and tricks, which are fun but not highlight attractions. And at $1,900, which is $100 more than last year's phone, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is the most expensive it's ever been, dating back to the Galaxy Z Fold 3. But I guess that's the price you pay for having such a long reign on top. But what do you think? Are you planning on upgrading to the Z Fold 6? I kind of hope not if you bought last year's Z Fold 5. But either way, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Engadget for more news, reviews, and hands-ons.